Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got a lot of breaking dates today. So the first news coming today is coming from Russia, where we've got news coming from some statements from Vladimir Putin, the president of the Russian Federation, and some statements coming from the Russian Defense Minister, Andrei Belousov. So Vladimir Putin hosted a huge military conference where both the Russian Defense Minister and the President, Vladimir Putin, discussed the military situation around Russia and obviously in Ukraine and other sectors of the world. So I'll just go over the key points that first Vladimir Putin made and then the Russian Defense Minister made at this huge military conference. So let's just start off with Vladimir Putin. So he stated that the staffing level of the Russian armed forces has been increased to 1.5 million servicemen. In 2024, the Russian army captured 189 settlements. The serial production of the Oceanic medium-range ballistic missile will certainly be established in the near future. More than 1,000 people a day enter military service under contracts in the Russian Federation. Several thousand drones are being delivered to Russian troops daily in Ukraine, but more are needed. A single information circuit must be created in the troops, combining reconnaissance and strike assets at different levels of command. And now let's go to some statements that the Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov made at the military conference. So he stated that the MOD must be prepared for any development of the situation, including possible military conflict with NATO in Europe within the next decade. The activities of the Defense Ministry are built, taken into account the special operation as well as military presence in Central Asia, Africa and the Caucasus and Transnistria. The Russian armed forces must become more flexible and receptive to innovation, including in the civilian sector. The speed of advancements of the Russian military is currently on average about 30 square kilometers per day. The total losses of the armed forces of Ukraine, killed and wounded for the entire period of the war in Ukraine so far, amount to about 1 million people. The Ukrainian armed forces are forced to go on the defensive and use reserves. The staffing of the enemy units on the front line does not exceed 45 to 50% combat capabilities. Currently, our troops use more than 3.5 thousand drones daily, and this figure is constantly growing. And his last statement he made is that in 2025, a new branch of military will appear in Russia, and it's going to be called the Unmanned System Forces, the Russian Defense Minister Belousov stated at the military conference. So very interesting statements from the both individuals. Now let's go on to some more updates we've gotten from Russia. So we've gotten news that the Yars missile system launchers have been deployed for combat patrols. So Russia's anonymous Yars missile system launcher has been deployed on combat patrols according to the MOD. So the strategic missile crews are practicing maneuvers and conducting engineering activities in the field of positions, including camouflage and combat security, while marching up to 100 kilometers. So the Yars missile systems right now in Russia are being deployed for basically army exercises right now, testing their response to a theoretical obviously situation of war with NATO or something. Now let's go to the Black Sea, where we've got some very big news coming from the Kerch Strait here. So we've got news that a Russian tanker carrying thousands of tons of oil products split in half, and one person died during heavy storms in the Kerch Strait in the Black Sea. So the Russian investigators said on Sunday that 2 criminal cases have been opened in the possible safety violations after 136-meter Volgift 212 tanker, which had 15 people on board at the same time of the storm, was destroyed and the vessel bow sank. So according to Greenpeace, Greenpeace warns that the oil spill in the Kerch Strait could result in one of the largest man-made disasters in the Black Sea. The Russian tanker that sank in the Black Sea may have been carrying up to 5,000 tons of oil products. If The Greenpeace officials stated that if such qualities of oil ends in the Black Sea, it will be one of the largest man-made disasters in the Black Sea, the organization stated. So very big and concerning news coming from the Black Sea. We've also got some more news coming from Ukraine. So the Trump administration team is ready to consider the proposal for a Christmas ceasefire in Ukraine put forward by the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, the future of the US National Security Advisor in the Donald Trump administration. Michael Waltz told SBS News. He stated that we need to stop the fighting, and if the first step is some kind of ceasefire, then we will carefully study what that means. But until January the 20th, we are also cooperating with the current administration. So apparently the Trump administration right now is considering the proposal that Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, put forward of a Christmas ceasefire, of obviously Orthodox Christmas ceasefire, and a prisoner exchange swap. We've got news that the Hungarian foreign minister stated that Budapest has requested a phone call between Prime Minister Viktor Orban and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, but the request was met with what he described as an uncultural refusal, calling it a fairly unprecedented case in diplomacy. So, interesting news. And one of the biggest news come today is that Zelensky says that North Koreans have finally engaged in battle in big numbers in Ukraine. So, Zelensky stated that Russia has begun using a significant number of North Korean soldiers in its assaults. These troops are being integrated into combined units and deployed in operations within the Kursk region. For now, their involvement is limited to this area, but there is information suggesting they might be used on other front lines as well. Losses among North Korean troops are already noticeable. In fact, Moscow has dragged yet again another state into the war, Zelensky has stated. And the only kind of video that kind of so-called confirms the North Korean presence in North Korea is these videos here. So in one of these videos we can see allegedly a North Korean troop describing their first encounter with Ukrainian FPV drones. So they're both talking in different languages, so they're not actually fully communicating with each other, but they're kind of using side language and stuff. And this second video here, we can see a Ukrainian drone in the Kursk region, apparently videoing the first objective confirmations of participations of North Korean soldiers in the battle. But of course, the problem with this video is that there are obviously a lot of Asian people of Russia, and especially in the Siberian sector. But the Ukrainian sources are stating that faces of these people in these videos here are more typically Korean type, unlike Russian Asians. So very interesting news, and I'll just keep you updated on that. So again, there's no confirmations that these are North Korean troops. So I'll just keep you updated on that. We've got news that the Italian government has approved a new 10th package of military aid to Ukraine, but there's been no the weapons included in this Italian aid package have not been published to the public, so I'll keep you updated on that. We've gotten some statements coming from the Slovak the Slovak president. So the Slovak president stated that Ukraine will have to accept the current territory realities in order to resolve the Ukrainian conflict. We've also got some statements coming from Pope Francis. So Pope Francis has prayed not only for Ukrainians, but also for Russians, calling them brothers and cousins and urging for understanding. The Pope stated that war is always a defeat, peace to the whole world. So Pope Francis is urging and praying for not only for the Ukrainians, but Russians, and also calling Ukrainians and Russians brothers and cousins. Now let's go to the next update today, and it's coming from Moldova. So Moldova has declared a state of emergency over fears of Russian gas flows via Ukraine will stop. So Moldova's parliament on Friday voted to approve a state of emergency, citing fears of an immediate threat to energy security. The Russian gas currently reaches Moldova, a landlocked country in the northeastern corner of Europe's Balkan region, via its neighbor of Ukraine. However, a gas transit between Russia's Gazprom and Ukraine's energy companies is set to expire on December the 31st, and Ukraine has repeatedly said it has no intentions to extend the contract. CNBC reports, because like this pipeline that goes to Hungary and Slovakia and the Czech Republic that feeds Russian gas, it also goes through Ukrainian territory. Same with a pipeline that goes through Moldova. So a Russian gas pipeline goes through Ukraine and feeds Moldova Russian gas. And the Russians and the Ukrainians made a deal that by the December 31st, 2024, Ukraine will be shutting down all Russian gas to Slovakia, Hungary, the Czech Republic, and Moldova, and probably a bit more countries in the West too. So I'll keep you updated on that. We've also gotten some news today that is coming from Poland. So, allegedly coming from news sources is that Poland has become the first EU country to introduce mandatory firearm training for primary school students, citing growing concerns about Russia. So you can even search this up. Poland is apparently now training primary school students on firearm training due to growing concerns about Russian aggression. So I'll keep you updated on that. And probably one of the biggest news today is coming from the Bundestag in Germany. So the Bundestag has just voted a no confidence vote on Chancellor Olaf Scholz, paving the way for early parliamentary elections in Germany. So the Chancellor Olaf Scholz of Germany has basically been ousted in a no-confidence vote. So I'll keep you updated on the elections that are going to be coming in Germany. So Olaf Scholz has been ousted in a no-confidence vote. So very big news. And the next news we have received is coming from the EU. So the European Union has stated that lifting sanctions on Syria is premature now, but later we have just received news an hour ago when recording this video, is that the EU will lift sanctions on Syria only if Russian bases in Syria are removed. So the withdrawal of Russian bases must be a condition for EU dialogue with the new Syrian authorities, stated Kallas, the Vice President of the European Commission, stated. The EU will begin lifting sanctions against Syria after it sees positive steps for the new authorities, including the removal of Russian military bases in Syria. So very big news. We've also got news that the EU adopts the 15th sanction package against Russia. The European Council has just approved the 15th package of sanctions against Russia, targeting 54 individuals and 30 companies from Russia, China, and North Korea. So the sanctions list also includes Russian military personnel and a lot of Russian companies in Russia. So big news. We've also gotten some news coming from France, but not mainland France. We've got news coming from France's overseas territory in Mayotte. So a cyclone, a hurricane hit Mayotte in France. So this overseas territory that France holds. So if we can see in this video here, we can see the absolute devastation that this huge hurricane did to this small island. So according to results, there's been deaths of hundreds of people, and the number of victims is estimated to exceed 1,000 people. And now let's head to the United Kingdom, where we've got news that Britain's navy size hits an historic low. So only 2 of the Royal Navy's 6 Type 45 destroyers are operational, the Telegraph reports, while 2/3 of the rest of the British destroyers are in ship repair yards. In comparison, at the peak of the Royal Navy's power in 1945, there were more than 800 destroyers and frigates in the Royal Navy in 1945, but obviously that's when the UK had its empire, so I'll keep you updated on that. We've also received news that Britain says that it will give £50 billion worth of humanitarian aid to Syrians across the region, including £30 million to Syria and £20 million to Syrian refugees elsewhere in the region. So Britain will be giving Syria a £50 billion humanitarian aid package. We've also got news coming from Ireland that Israel will close its embassy in Ireland due to an extreme anti-Israel policies, the Israeli foreign minister stated. So Israel will be closing its embassy in Ireland. We've got news coming from Switzerland that Switzerland tightens small arms exports to keep them from Ukraine. So Switzerland has tightened its exports rules for small arms and ammunition to stop them reaching Ukraine in breach of the embargo, the country's parliament said in a statement. So in November the 2023, it was revealed that a Polish company, UMOMP, supplied Ukraine with hundreds of thousands of Swiss sniper rifle ammunition in breach of the Swiss embargo. So Switzerland is now tightening its arms exports. We've got news coming from Greece that Greece is in an advanced talks to buy 36 Israeli artillery systems worth 600 million euros. A lot of people are saying that Greece is buying these 36 Israeli artillery pieces so it can be sent to Ukraine. Now let's go to Israel itself. So we've got news that the Israeli defense minister has stated that the country's defense budget must be increased in the face of growing threats. Israel's defense spending makes up more than 5% of its GDP. In comparison, the United States spends about 3.4% of its GDP on defense. Now Israel seems to be wanting to increase the number to maybe 5.5% or something more or less. So I'll keep you updated on that. We've also got news that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, has approved plans to expand the Golan Heights settlements, aiming to double its population. There's about, in the Golan Heights right now, and here, there's about 25,000 Israeli houses, and there are about 30 settlements. So, according to Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, it wants to double this figure. We've also got news while we're talking about the Golan Heights, is that the Israeli forces continue to do its military operation into Syria, and we've just gotten news that Israel is now 20 kilometers away from Damascus, the capital city of Syria. So it seems that the Israeli forces are not stopping. They are continuing to advance into Syria, calling it a buffer zone, but now they are apparently 20 kilometers, Israeli forces are apparently 20 kilometers away from Damascus. So, very big news. We've also got news that the Israeli Air Force has also carried out 52 airstrikes overnight on military targets across Syria, including big major cities in Syria, Damascus, Homs, and Hama. So, the Israeli Air Force continues to strike Syrian military targets. We've got news that Assad al-Bashar has finally broke silence after 1 week after the fall of Damascus. So he stated that I never betrayed Syria. So the former president of Syria said that he stayed in Syria until the last day when Moscow arranged an immediate evacuation after its main airbase was attacked. So apparently, according to Assad al-Bashar, he left at the last day, at the last second, and with him, Assad revealed that he flew with $250 million in cash to Russia as well. So, very interesting news. We've also got news that Qatar has opened its embassy in Damascus for the first time in 14 years. So did Turkey and France. So France has just sent its diplomatic mission to Syria for the first time of 12 years. We've got news that the Syrian embassy will open in the US tomorrow, local media reports. So Syria's embassy will open in Washington, D.C. for the first time since 2014, where diplomatic relations were suspended, according to sources at pro-opposition Syrian TV channel. So interesting news. We've also got news that the UAE informed the US of its discomfort of Syria's new government due to its Islamic identity and firmly oppresses US tolerance of their rule. So the UAE president advisor stated that we are concerned about the Islamic affiliations of the factions that toppled Assad. We've also got news that the HTS rebel leader, I should probably say the new leader of Syria, stated that Syrian territory will not be used to attack Israel. Now let's go to Yemen, where we've gotten some huge news. We've gotten news that the US and the UK air forces have struck Houthi militants' targets in Yemen. So, according to the US Central Command, the CENTCOM conducts precision airstrikes against Iran-backed Houthi facilities in Yemen. So on December the 16th, Yemen time, the US Central Command forces conducted a precision airstrike against key command and control facilities operated by Iran-backed Houthis within Houthi-controlled territory in Sana'a, so the capital of Yemen. The targeted facilities was a hub for coordinating Houthi operations such as attacks against the US Navy warships and merchant vessels in the southern Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. So the strikes reflect CENTCOM's ongoing commitment to protect the US and coalition personnel, regional partners and international shipping. So the UK and the US have just struck Yemen, not only in its capital but also in a port city of Yemen here. So very big news. We've also got news today that there's been a huge oil spill in Nigeria. So in this region of Nigeria called Delta, an oil spill has occurred at the Shell loading terminal in Nigeria's Delta region after a pipeline ruptured. Nigeria's Maritime Agency said. So the Nigerian Maritime Administration and the Safety Agency stated that the spill, which occurred on Sunday at the Bonny terminal, has reached the shoreline and that is actively monitoring the situation. So there's been a huge oil spill in the Delta region in Nigeria, and apparently this huge oil trail is now reached the shoreline in Nigeria. So I'll keep you updated on that. The next news we have received today is coming from Sri Lanka, that the Sri Lankan president, the new Sri Lankan elected president has arrived on a 3-day visit to India. So this is Sri Lanka's new president's first visit overseas, and during his visit he will attend business events in New Delhi, the capital of India, to promote investment and a commercial linkage between India and Sri Lanka. So this has been a huge discussion, and this is why the Sri Lankan president has arrived in India. So he is advocating that Sri Lanka and India should connect. So if you can just see here, it has a big potential of a huge bridge that Sri Lanka and India can both do. So Sri Lanka is now trying to advocate a bridge between Sri Lanka and India to promote, obviously, maybe tourism and maybe economic abilities, maybe make some train tracks to improve trade. So very big news is happening in India. So a potential land bridge is in discussion between India and Sri Lanka. I'll keep you updated on that. We've got some news coming from Taiwan that Taiwan has received its first batch of 38 M1 A2T Abrams tanks from the US as part of its total order of 108. So this marks Taiwan's new tank delivery since the M60 A3 tanks in 1994. So Taiwan has just received 38 US Abrams tanks, And usually with every single aid package that the US does, China ends up doing an exercise around Taiwan. So China might now send a couple of fighters into Taiwan's airspace and cross the median line. So I'll keep you updated on that. And now let's go to Australia. We've got news that we've gotten some funny news first coming from Australia, that a Chinese tourist apparently landed in Australia, and the first thing he did was bring a drone from China and recorded close-up footage of the Australian warships with a drone, and even the drone landed on the Australian warships. So the footage was posted on Australian media, and the police reportedly told him not to do it again when he was caught. So if you can see here, there was a tourist from China who visited Australia, and he apparently recorded some pretty good videos of an Australian warship. So very interesting news. And the more serious news coming from Australia is that children as young as 10 will face adult jail time in the Australian state of Queensland. So the Australian state of Queensland has just passed a law which will see children as young as 10 subject to the same penalties as adults if convicted of crimes such as murder or serious assaults and break-ins. So interesting news. And the last news today is coming from Canada. So apparently 60 Liberal MPs have called the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to resign. And we've just gotten news that the Canadian Finance Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister have actually resigned due to policy clashes with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And we've just gotten news today that the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is now considering resigning, according to CTV News. So very big news coming from a lot of the world today. So I know this was a big video today. I had to fit yesterday's recording with today's recording, but I hope that you still found it interesting anyway. But I am Non-C News. I will try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.